Alright, so kind of an experiment of wanting to document my process of going through an any percent run in Splatoon. Think it might be interesting to some. Don't like how lean back I am sitting. Jesus. But isn't for a PB. This isn't for like I don't even care if I get better splits out of this, because to be fair, my splits right now are pretty garbage. And if I were actually like, really, what the fuck? If I were actually trying to get better splits, I could just do them on stream pretty easily. But, you know, this isn't trying to be like too good. This is just me trying to document myself. You know, so this is kind of a personal, just want to see what I'm doing wrong. Because when I think about like what I'm doing while speedrunning this game, it often turns out that I'll mess something up compared to when I'm not thinking about it. But I do want to explain kind of as I go along why things are done, so I can mashing here, so I can kind of get those who don't know the speedrun the idea of it, while also giving those who do know the speedrun, or you know it but don't know it that well, give them some sort of mindset, or give them my mindset of going into it, like what I'm thinking. So I'm not the best runner, obviously. My PB is a 55:07, which is like 3 minutes plus off world record, like 3.5 almost. But 55:07 or 55 in this game, I don't want to say is hard, but it's not easy if you don't know what you're doing. I think a lot of people, when they first start running this game, care more about the strats and about like learning how to do each level before learning how to do movement, which I think movement is the most important part of the game. Movement is the difference between a 57 and a 55, pretty much. And it may seem insane that good movement can save 2 minutes, but when you're getting different cycles and you're getting, just overall different timings, it's gonna make a difference. So early in the run, I'm just kind of laid back. I don't think there's anything too insanely like I need to really do this well, or like I need to worry about this. There are things that I think are very important to like the run, especially getting out of World War I. There's a lot of things that do need to go right, but I don't think it's very hard. I think it's pretty simple, and for saying that, I'm probably gonna mess it up. One thing that you'll notice, or probably won't notice, one thing I notice is my orb count. Seekers are so important early in the run for a multitude of reasons. I don't know if I used the word multitude right there, but I have a pretty good orb count right now, so that should be alright. 1-1's pretty basic, so I'm not like gonna go too in depth into how that works, but I'm gonna need 100 orbs by the end of this next level to really optimize how fast I'm going. And you can say, why don't you just grind it out? But that would take a long time, so, or that would take time you don't really have, and it takes 2 levels at most to get these 100, so it's not really worth it. Here, what the fuck? I kind of tried recording this twice, and both times this level just hasn't gone very well in terms of shot RNG. Pretty much, if you know how the game works, when you shoot a bullet, it will spray in kind of varying locations and distances, but it's guaranteed that one will go the farthest distance and one will go the shortest distance, and then everything else will go randomly wherever it wants. So you can get pretty unlucky with shot RNG and how it works, but you just kind of have to live with it sometimes. I do my best to make sure that I can't get screwed over by it, but sometimes it just isn't doing me any favors. So here, this is the really only thing that could go wrong in World 1. It's just cannonless right there. That's not even the fastest you can do it. If you have really good movement, which I don't, you can do that to get it on the left cycle beforehand when it's moving to the left, but you have to be pretty good, and you have to have good movement all the way through. So it's tricky to do. It's tricky to have really good movement throughout a level, but we did have enough orbs, which is good, and that really enables us to go a lot faster, in my opinion. Seekers are really good because it takes away any variation of speed. I no longer have to worry about, maybe I shoot 2 or 3 more times than I need to, which, would be bad. That's a lot of times to shoot that I don't need to shoot. And maybe I don't, get the best shot RNG, and I don't get a straight line. It takes away any randomness, but it's not, a complete lifesaver. But one thing it's very useful for is this boss fight coming up, and really any boss fight after that, because actually I'll tell you why when I get in the boss fight. Save myself there, that's no big deal. Obviously throwing bombs at the what they call Zapfish to break open their case right away. So it doesn't really help for that level. I think it's about probably a second or 2 faster with Seekers there, but going into Octostomp with Seekers is very important because it makes it like 5 to 10 seconds faster, and that's dependent on how good your rapid fire glitch is. So rapid fire glitch is just a kind of an exploit in the game where if you mash your sub-weapon buttons, a bullet will shoot out as fast as you can mash them. So if you get it really well, you can shoot bullets really fast. It's extremely useful in a lot of spots. It makes Octavio a lot shorter, and it makes all these bosses a lot quicker. RFG right now isn't that great for me. It's alright. There are times when I can do RFG and I'm like, holy shit, that's amazing. And then there are times where I just can't do it at all. It's not something that I think can be practiced a lot, and that's really bad. Fuck me. That shouldn't happen, and you can't even see me, what the fuck. I was just unlucky. Whatever. I'm not too worried about it. Like I said, I'm not trying to, like, showcase skill. I'm not trying to get a new PB. I'm just trying to kind of work through this game with my mindset. So, yeah, I lose a lot of time. It loses 10 seconds, pretty much. 10 to 15 seconds, probably. I think that's 15 seconds. Kind of based on what I could have saved in general. It says I lose 9 seconds, or 10 seconds, but I think I could have saved a good chunk of time there, but older one's pretty basic. Every now and then you'll mess up that boss fight, and it's not the biggest deal in the world, but if you're actually attempting to, like, get a good run, then you'll probably want to not mess up that boss fight. Movement around the world is important too. There are obviously there's a certain order in which we do every level, but you want to have good movement around the overworld just so you can make sure you're not wasting any time between level and level. Those two seekers are deceptively hard, I think. Probably the hardest two seekers in the game. They're not that hard, but they can definitely mess you up sometimes. If you throw them too soon or at a bad angle, they'll blow up and won't make it the whole way across, but luckily enough, I didn't mess it up. So right here, we like to go up the left side. Obviously, the way they intended it was they want you to go up the middle there when both of the seekers pass through, or when both of the sweepers pass through, but it's not necessary. You can go up the left side. As you can see, seekers are very useful in this level to just kind of get everywhere quickly. And that jump saves a little bit of time. It's like 3 to 4 seconds, I think, if you do the movement perfectly on the other way, but a lot of time saved there just by doing the level the way it's supposed to be done. So we're gonna open that level and not go into it. And there's good reasoning for that. That level is Sponge Garden, and sponges blow up all the way instantly if you have burst bombs, or if you use any bombs on them, but burst bombs are the best to use because they don't take up as much ink. So we're going to come back to that level when we have burst bombs. And then it also gives us a good angle of entering the boss, so that's the level we'll be doing last in the world. This level's pretty tricky with the enemies. You can definitely die if you're getting really unlucky, but you know, it's not always horrible. And then you want to make sure you're standing on top of the gushers before they go off. Just because it takes a lot longer to kind of swim up the gushers than it does to stand on top of them. So that's one of the biggest reasons here, or there, but now we go into the first Octogirl level. or Octoling, Octogirl, Octoling. So if you don't know, Octolings act like any Inkling does. So if an Octoling passes through the Zapfish, it'll collect it for you. What the hell? And that explains how that happens. So pretty much there's an Octoling jumping from the top there, and it'll pass through the Zapfish. So if you open up the Zapfish, you can do that with bombs as well and make it like 2 or 3 seconds quicker, but it's a lot easier with the Inkzooka to open the case and get the Octoling to go through it. There's a small window with the bombs, and you have to be pretty precise about where and when you're throwing it. So that's why I do Inkzooka, and I'd say anyone who's just learning should do Inkzooka, but like once you get good, definitely learn bomb strats for there. This is just a tutorial level, rehashed pretty much. Once again, just focused on good movement here. Seekers make it easier. Switch over to the splat bombs before we get to the Octo Striker. Like any other enemy in the game, Octo Strikers get scared from the bombs, so that makes it really easy to kill. Make sure I have Seekers equipped before I hit the Zapfish. And then, let's see. Okay, so now we have enough orbs and we're at a spot where burst bombs will help us out in the next level, so we're going to buy them here. They wouldn't really help us anywhere else in the world, so buying them earlier does make a difference, plus you have a good time there as your Seeker's going off and as you're kind of going towards the level. So right here, we're going to switch over to the burst bombs, and we make instant use out of them. As you notice, or as you might notice, when I get to the top of a ledge, I'll shoot instantly when I get up there. That just quickens the time to land on the ground, pretty much. Other than that, pretty much just focusing on getting through the fan section pretty quickly. This next section is really, really tricky, and please, oh, I'm so sad. Tricky. So if you hit the fan 3 times, it'll get to the perfect height where you can get onto it and waste as little time as possible. I either went too slow or only shot it twice, so ended up just messing that whole thing up. And then burst bombs also accelerate the fans really quickly. If it weren't for the death, that would have been a really good level. It would have been practically perfect. They're like small nitpick things that, you know, you can say, oh, you could have done this better, but pretty good level overall if I didn't die. And this level is pretty tricky. So that was a good start. So you want to make sure you have enough ink for all those burst bombs you need to use throughout the beginning of that level. There are times when you can just mess up and miss some, or not have enough ink for it. Right there, you just want to pretty much kill them as quickly as possible. They can be pretty annoying sometimes, so other than that, it's pretty good. Burst bombs, again, incredibly good in this level. right here, I just want to make sure he doesn't shoot the sponge. And then this part can be tricky if you're just learning it, but it's pretty simple if you know what you're doing. You just want to make sure that no enemies shoot the sponges you're on. And that was, I'd say, a perfect level. I don't know. Again, you can nitpick things and say, oh, you could have done that faster, but overall, it was, you know, how the level is supposed to go. And again, that gives us a nice angle into the boss, so. This boss is, again, pretty simple. All the bosses are pretty easy. There's only one boss that can really mess you up if you're playing the game, and that's World 3, that's Octo Whirl. Octonozzle, or Octoschnoz, as he's so gratefully called. He has some strats to make him quicker, of course. RFG makes him quicker, but also... Oh god, please aim. You don't actually have to climb on top of him to hit him. As long as you get that splat bomb on top of him, he'll be able to be hit from the ground there. Something changes when I get 3 bombs and try to do RFG. I don't know what. I just can't do it. I don't know why. Yeah, work on that. I feel like RFG isn't really something you can practice. It's just something you'll get better at with time. But if you know like what you're doing, you're good. And if you can aim, that's also good. Pretty much you just want to stop him from shooting as much as you can. If he shoots one out, you know you're kind of going slow, but it's not the worst thing in the world. Pretty alright boss fight. It definitely could have been faster, but no real complaints. Of course, remembering to not pick up the scrolls after the boss fight is a good thing. Every scroll that you collect is a 1-second cutscene after the level. Like 1 to 2 seconds, I think it is. But obviously going out of your way and collecting them is a lot of time, because some of them take pretty decent amount of time to get. That's it with World 2. Still a pretty simple world, a little bit more advanced, faster paced movement than World 1. But World 3, I'd say, is probably the hardest world. I wouldn't say the hardest world in the game, but one of the probably most reset heavy worlds. I think 1 and 3 are pretty big reset points in runs. And one reason is flutters, and then another reason is super cycle skip. And we can talk about that when we get... We'll talk about both of those when we get to them. For now, it's just... this level is just all about these small little improvements rather than, like, going incredibly fast, or doing these incredibly fast movements. Let's hope that hits. I think it did. It did, nice. So that just quickens the time it takes to kill that guy. Hello, please get up there. Burst bombs are really good for this level and going fast up those walls and up the ink rails. I've seen a lot of different strats for this area. A lot of people like to use Seekers, a lot of people like to use burst bombs. I'm personally indifferent. But I'd rather use Seekers, because then I wouldn't have to make kind of... I wouldn't have to do a switch on the rail. I can do a switch on the super jump. Other than that, pretty good level so far. I'd say perfect so far. Nothing has gone wrong. And this last part is pretty much impossible to go slow in. It's really hard to mess this up. Like, you'd have to try to mess it up, I think. I don't think I've ever messed up that part in my life. But, pretty simple level. I have died in that level yesterday, but it wasn't in that last part. It's because I missed the splat bomb on that one guy. But now we get into flutters. Flutters is interesting because for the most part, like at the beginning, it's all about movement and how you can move. I don't do the completely optimal strats for this upcoming part, but I do the next best thing. It's like 3 or 4 seconds slower, which is a lot, but it also isn't that much if you have a time that can be improved by just better RNG or better movement. So it's slightly slower, but it's not going to make or break a run. But pretty much up until this point, wow, that was bad. Up until this point, you probably shouldn't die yet. Kill that guy because he's kind of in the way. Hello, please. But that part's a little tricky, and then the upcoming segment is very tricky. Thankfully, I got a nice straight line. Just kidding. This is bad. Oh, this is really bad. Oh, wow, this is really bad. Alright. We worked our way around. So flutters are all RNG, and they start at the beginning of the level and will reset if you die. I got pretty bad RNG there. If you get good RNG, not the far right lane will be completely open, but the second to the right will be pretty much completely open, and you'll have a straight line to the key and to the ink rail. I had a pretty easy way to the key, but getting to the rail was not going to be the easiest because of where they were. This level is pretty much, it just comes down to this one seeker, and I missed it. You can still save it if you miss it, but getting the seeker to not hit the rail there is really important for going your fastest and not dying. We're gonna open up that level right quick. And we're gonna RFG to open up that level quickly. This level's cool, it has a nice strat in it. And there are 2 different ways to really do the strat. I'm gonna do it the way I know best. Rather than the way I have no idea how to do it, because I have no idea how to do it. Pretty much you can skip a nice portion of... I missed it. Alright, whatever. You can skip a nice portion of the level if you land on that box, and then you can jump up to another like wall area, and that'll bring you pretty much to where that last pair of octobombers are, and then it's pretty straight line from there. 7 seconds is pretty big, especially in this level where, you know, if you don't try for it, it's not a big problem. You won't lose any time ever, but if you go for it and miss, it's kind of upsetting. But this is really the most movement intensive level in the game. they're all movement intensive, but this is the one where you really have to be on top of your game to do it well. So many things have to go right for you to perform this level well. And we're gonna try our best. So far, we're looking good, but this part isn't really the part that you have to worry about. So this is hopefully gonna be super cycle skip. I missed it. Okay, that's fine. If you get this cycle, it's about, I think, like 4 seconds slower. If you get like the normal cycle, it's like 14 seconds slower or something. It's kind of insane how much time it saves by going fast. It's really tricky because you have to have perfect timing throughout the level, and that set of platforms is tough to get the burst bomb, get up, get through quickly, and then jump onto the next part. So we're gonna come down here. Hello, please. Textures. This level is kind of tricky, but shouldn't be that bad. I always like shooting that on my way up. Okay, whatever. I like shooting that on my way over to the platform because it scares me to make that jump without it. Other than that, this is pretty simple. I'm gonna kill that guy because he's kind of in the way. But you don't really need to kill any of these guys. You do need to kill these octoballs, which, if you just hit them with that Seeker, you're good. If they don't notice you, that is. If they notice you, they become invincible unless they're in your ink. But if they're not, then you're fine. Or if they're not noticing you, then you're fine. And this is just knowing where all the what are they called? We're pretty much where the platform is, where all the walkways are. And then what am I trying to say? This last part's just about getting up as quickly as possible. So I like to kill that guy. You can do it in different ways. There are like kind of faster but trickier ways to do it. It's not a huge time difference though. And then we get to Octowhirl. If you know how the boss works, if you know how Octowhirl works, you're fine. But if you don't understand the ins and outs, you will probably mess them up a couple times. But he's pretty basic. Most of the bosses up until Octavia War. Just like to throw that burst bomb to get into position. Definitely is the worst boss in the game. Because for a while I don't think anyone knew how he worked, and then once we really figured out like why he'll go in a certain direction at some points, I think we were like, oh, okay, that makes sense. But pretty much you just want to be looking at him, so we'll stop. And then, you know, have him roll through your ink. Yeah. I think I'm just not using the right part of my thumb when I'm doing it. Once the platforms start moving, it becomes a little bit trickier. I still like to get this whole center area inked, but once you get past that, I like to... You get that one black tile. Yeah, you get that black tile done and you're good. But this is the part where most people will probably mess them up. Once it becomes like you can't spray some of the ground, that's when he becomes tricky. Pretty much this blue tile here, this blue panel here, you're going to want to stay on the right side of it at all times. If you go onto the left side, he will miss all your ink pretty much. So that's just kind of the reasoning behind it. I don't know the exact ins and outs of why it happens, but it does. Once again, avoiding the scroll, and that's world 3. So I'm about 34 seconds above or ahead of my splits. Probably should be more. I think I'd probably be 40, maybe 50 if I didn't die. These splits were just kind of de-rust splits, I think, from like the first time back when I got my new laptop. But next is the biggest thing in the game, the biggest skip in the game. It saves, I think we've agreed that it saves about 14 minutes, maybe 12 if you're not getting scrolls. I don't know exactly how much it is. I always say 14 because it's a good estimate, but like to shoot off that secret at the beginning of the cutscene there. World 4 skip is tricky. It can definitely be upsetting at times. Oh, I got stuck on the corner. That was pretty much first try, but I got stuck on the corner, and now I mess it up. That's always good. It's pretty much just all of... Whoa, holy shit. Wow, I am bad. It is pretty much all about alignment. I'm going to try a different setup here, because I know there is some other setups. There we go. That setup might actually be better. It's tricky. I probably should have shut off the... probably should have used the splat bomb first. Each attempt is like 14 seconds or something. And we first found out that a sub 52 in this game was possible when Movefish got a... It was like a 5209 or something, or like a 5212 with second try World 4 skip, which just shouldn't be possible, but it was. And that was just all based on good movement and I guess good luck probably too, with flutters and everything else. Bad luck on flutters can cost you a lot of time. I shoot that there just to get the what's it called, Octobomber off. This level's actually kind of tricky. You want to get this cycle here that I'm on right now, because it pretty much assures that you're going to be doing the level as fast as possible. As you can see, that platform gets there pretty much right when I get here, so... I do this a different way than most people do it. My way is slightly slower, but it's, I think, more safe if you don't have a good, consistent setup for it. It's like 3 seconds slower maybe, but it works, so I'm not gonna be like too upset about it. Good level though. Not good shooting that fan. Once again, you want to shoot the fan as little as possible, just because it makes your life easy. Open that level just because it'll kind of bring us to where we want to be after we do this level. This Octoling level is a lot trickier in all scrolls. It is very, very simple in any percent, but, well, that is if you hit that seeker. Yeah, it's simple. There's not a lot that can go wrong if you do that in any percent, but yeah, pretty simple. Nothing like too over the top there, I don't think. I don't want to blow you up. So this, what's it called? Octo Striker. He has a quick kill. Let's see if I can get it. We might actually be able to get it. No. Actually, we did get it. Wow, I'm kind of surprised. If you see that he's going to shoot off an Ink Strike right as you get to his UFO thing, you can hit that balloon and he'll die, but I don't know why it works. I'm not the one to ask, but it does. We'll get on there. I think that landed. Yep. Open that level for later, just to make access to it quicker and easier. And once again, we have a Flutters level. This one is a lot less, like, a lot less based off of RNG. Like, you don't need the best RNG to do this level well. Just make sure you don't get shot while jumping across these, or else if you get shot midair, you lose all momentum, which is bad. So you just want to make sure that you don't do that. If you shoot a Seeker here, there's absolutely no way that if anyone were to be there that they would hit you. You're in a bad spot, my friend. Please stop. Please stop. Thank you. Not the best RNG there, but again, it's not that important. This RNG is the most important in the level. This is pretty mediocre. You kind of want it in the way of where you're going. Overall, it would save like a couple seconds, but it's not anything to be too upset about. Movement there is all that matters in that level. This is probably the hardest part, yeah. That is the hardest part of the level. Or of the world. Hitting that incline, man, it's tricky. Gonna want to switch to burst bombs there. This level isn't hard if you do it casually. Also, I should have switched to Seekers there. It's not hard if you do it casually, because you're gonna know what to do. And you're gonna be able to do it pretty easily. However, going fast in this level is probably the hardest thing to do. That's not hard, that's simple. A lot easier than it looks. This is the part that's really hard. This is the hardest part of the level. Thankfully, that bomb didn't hit the sponge. If it did, you're just dead. And that can be a huge time loss. And this guy up here didn't notice me, but if he did, and he threw it on top of the sponge, could have died, but I don't think I would have. So here, you want to wait a little bit before you throw that bomb. I missed the bomb completely. That's fine. And now I'm missing all my shots. Thanks. Alright, whatever. Bad at the end there, but shouldn't be too big of a deal. Most of this time loss does come from the fact that I missed the anchor rail, so... you know, whatever. And then final level here, just what I'm trying to say. This level, if you try to do it as fast as possible, is pretty difficult movement-wise. It has the most disorienting movement. Oh fuck, I didn't want that guy over there. That's fine. And then, of course, yeah. I like how I'm just losing it here. Unlucky. Bad shot RNG on that guy in the far corner. It's unlucky, but I have been shot by that guy and have died because of it, but sometimes you just get really unlucky with your shots and you'll miss one that you kind of wish you didn't. Because there are times like that where you miss a shot and you're just dead because of it. And it does suck because you're like, well, disorienting movement is pretty much right there. If I get up here safely, those are like normally those octoballs won't be any problem. I just want to throw. Whoa, that guy just ran away. But throw a secret at that guy to kill him quickly. Past the movement in this level, it's nothing that hard. It's just missing a shot is bad, and I still saved 11 seconds there. Which means I can save like 10 more seconds. That opens up Octavio because it says, well, you beat every level in World 5, and we don't care about any other world here, so Octavio time. This is on pace for a 56, pretty much. This boss fight is 7.5 minutes. 7.5 to 8 minutes if you do it well. But it's not as... It's somewhat difficult, and there's a lot of variation to the ways you can do it, but it's a little tricky. And because this isn't an actual run and I just want to test something, fourth phase I'm going to test something. Pretty much RFG is the most useful thing in this boss fight. We're going to be doing a strat here called Delay Fist. Not in this phase, but in the next phase and every phase from here on out. Where we hit the first fist as fast as possible. Also, I didn't do this phase right. I should have let him come back to like around here so I could hit the fist faster. But the idea behind Delay Fist or Instant Fist is you hit the first fist as fast as possible, and then, you know, sometimes he just won't shoot off the second fist right away. He'll have like this buffer period where he doesn't fire it, or he'll fire it and you take as long as you can to hit it back, because when he's in his knockback animation, he goes half the distance of what he does from like a normal punch, which is kind of their way of balancing this. Here we're going to kind of do the opposite of Delay Fist. We're going to delay this fist as much as possible until that fist comes in. That's just to kind of quicken the time it takes between fists. We don't want the fist taking longer to get to us. Now is when the first Delay Fist comes in handy. So you're going to see after that, he's just going to shoot the subwoofer right away. I didn't land on that. Well, not right away, but it'll take a cycle. I missed that, but it's fine. Shouldn't be too big a deal. It's not that much of a time loss if you go onto the ground there. This is probably the hardest phase in the game. It's very precise. You have to get an immediate delay fist here, so just make sure I delay this enough. He's gonna move up. Yeah, okay. We're gonna try something here. This isn't where I wanted to try something, but we're gonna try something. That should save it for us. That's 7 seconds slower, about. Hey, I should hit that fist. Yeah, it's about 7 seconds slower, but it's not the biggest deal. Because now we'll shoot the subwoofer. Yeah. What you want to do there to not waste 7 seconds is, if you don't mess up your movement like I did, you'll fight him on the sponges here, and then you'll do another one of delay the first fist, and then hit the second fist. But it works out just the same. Sometimes you do kind of hate yourself for missing that fist skip, because 7 seconds sometimes is the difference between a PB and not, but thankfully I'm not like in the middle of a good run. This run's fairly mediocre, if I were to say the least. So just delay this fist. Delay fist is a lot harder in New Game Plus because you have the. Let me kill these first before I do anything. So what I want to test out is, I want to just hit that fist and not hit the second one and see if he'll fire off the subwoofer, because I don't know if he will. I think he will. I think he's far enough back now. Yeah. Did it drop the C-base. Did it drop the base. We're going to save the Ink Zuka for now. It's not useful. Well, it is useful, but it is much more useful next. next phase. So we're just about to pass what my PB is. This last phase takes about a minute and a half, so it's going to be like a 56:30 about. So right away, once again, you want to get a delay fist. If you're really good about it, you can get an instant fist where he just doesn't shoot out a fist there. Please don't shoot at me, thank you. I'll just kill you there. I don't actually know the logistics of this part, so I delay fist it anyway, you know, that's how I like to go about my business. Usually he'll end up right about here, which is good. And then I should have one fist to hit. Just gonna let that miss. That should be good. I think he's gonna fire off. No, okay. Oh, no, he is. Okay, never mind. I lied. Kind of didn't expect that to go off once he started charging his weapons there. I was kind of surprised. That's the biggest reason why that Injuke is worth it. Those come really fast and you don't want to miss it. 56:29 is what I get on this run. That's with a death, mediocre flutters, third try World 4 skip, which I could probably save 20 seconds there. Given all that's messed up, this time can be improved by about a minute. Just based off those small mistakes. Or not small mistakes, big mistakes. And then small mistakes can be fixed after. That was a good Octavia though. That took, yeah, 8 minutes. I'd kind of look up. I don't know. I'm gonna look something up real quick because I don't know what the IL world record of that is. Level leaderboard. I don't know if it's gonna. No, it's not. Okay. Didn't want it to mess with my life, but let's finish this. It's new game plus. Damn, there's no. Oh, new game. I don't think it takes 6:38. I don't think that's true. Yeah, whatever. Actually, hold up. Let's see. I'm gonna play this and see if he skips animations. Come here. Yeah. This is the only IL we have. I wonder if. I think he does. Skip like everything. Yeah, okay. So 6:38 is with skipping all the cutscenes and stuff. Meaning probably 6:38 is at least a minute slower, so not bad, not the worst. I'll definitely ask in the Splatoon Discord what everyone's time is, but yeah, I like it. It was pretty alright run. I like how I got to kind of showcase the whole game, showcase just kind of how everything works. Didn't get to show off Super Cycle Skip, which is unfortunate, but happens. I don't have a mouse that I can scroll up with this. But yeah, I'd like to thank everyone who watched this video, whether it caught your interest or not. I thought it was something fun to do, and I thought it might be interesting for people to watch. But yeah, if you like it, leave a like. If you want to see more, subscribe. I'll see you whenever. See you.